The saga of the walkout for the Democrats in Texas is really starting to get a bit crazy, and it's kind of funny, to be completely honest. Because, as you remember, Greg Abbott called a special session after they initially broke quorum in order to just be there, because they would have got defeated, because it would have passed through the House anyways, on the election integrity bill. And that was going to get passed, and it was going to move up, or has already been in the Senate, but regardless, Democrats, because they couldn't have their way, just decided to storm out like a bunch of entitled children. As you do, obviously. Well, the special session was called because guess what? Motherfuckers got to be voting on this shit. So what did they do? Broke quorum again. Should they be doing this? No. Is it necessarily illegal? Not too sure. But it's funny because we got developments on this. Okay, Texas Democrats respond to governor's threat. I can't get arrested because no crime was committed. Oh, really? Stealing taxpayer money because you won't represent them? Yeah, I think that qualifies as a bit of a theft, but then again, all taxation is theft at the end of the day. A Texas Democrat lawmaker on Tuesday said that she is not worried about Governor Greg Abbott's promise to arrest her and other Democrat lawmakers who left Texas to prevent a special legislative session. I don't worry, probably because I know the law. Oh my God, I know the law. Don't touch me. You can't do that. That's exactly how this reads. I don't even know if Jasmine Crockett would speak like that, but I also know that she is fundamentally retarded for making the statement. And the governor knows the law as well. I'm a criminal defense attorney. Oh, okay, well, I lost even more respect for you. And so I understand that I've never committed a crime and I can't get arrested. Crockett, a Democrat, said during an interview on CNN. Of course, Crockett further claimed the Texas Speaker of the House can only call to have the lawmakers detained, not arrested. A difference without a distinction, really. Come on. I'm not worried about the threat of being arrested. The most that can happen is that we get detained, which is why we got out of the state. The governor of Texas has no jurisdiction outside of the state of Texas, along with the Texas Department of Public Safety. You're an elected representative, and now you're not going to be representing anybody that's there, and you're getting out of the state, fleeing like a fucking fugitive because you just don't want to be there, because you need to stick up for the little guy, and Republicans are so racist. Or whatever dog shit excuse you'd fucking make up. Dude, this is abandoning your constituency at such a high level, it's impossible to take you seriously. This is so monumentally retarded. In a move underscoring the political brinksmanship in the state, Texas Democrats confirmed Monday that they flew via a chartered plane to Washington, D.C. after walking out a Republicans' proposed election overhaul bill because they're children. People elected children, and this is going to reflect poorly on you in 2022, especially anybody who's in a contested area, because if I was anybody who's going to be challenging for a seat there, I would just be running this on replay over and over again for my campaign message. Look what your representative did. Yeah, they took a private plane to Washington instead of just voting on a bill. Instead of just voicing their displeasure. No. They tuck tail and run like a fucking second grader. Republicans say the bill is needed to secure the state's elections and restore Texans' confidence in their own election, while Democrats said it would unfairly target minority groups and tantamount to voter suppression. Yeah, just like their boss, or their second boss, whatever, de facto assistant manager, Kamala Harris. You know those people out in the country, they aren't next to an Office Max or a Kinko's. Well, okay, Kinko's has been out of business for like a decade at this point, so you're really in touch with what regular people have to do on a daily basis. Okay, cool. But also, let's just say for some reason you'd have to provide a photocopy of a government-issued ID back to the government, which makes no sense anyways, but we'll continue this out. How would they get to those places anyways if they needed to? Okay, would they have to drive there? Do you need a government-issued license in order to do that? Oh, right, yeah. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But again, these idiots, they just run out the exact same arguments over and over again. Election integrity would disproportionately affect minority groups. Rephrasing that just means that, oh yeah, minority groups are too stupid to get ID in order to vote. You guys want to run out the exact same tired arguments? I will just go ahead and call you fucking stupid racists. Doesn't hurt my feelings any, because sometimes the truth hurts. On May 30th, during a previous session, Democrats walked out at the last minute, preventing Republicans, who have a majority in the legislature, from passing the voting bill. As a result, Abbott called a special legislative session that was supposed to start Tuesday before the House Democrats left the state of Texas. We'll read the rest of this, and I'll tell you why it's so important for them to pass this right now, especially in Texas, because they aren't a full-time legislature. They just meet once or twice a year. It's part-time, and they don't get paid very much. They just are supposed to come in, do their job, vote on the bills, and then get the fuck out and go back to life, okay? That's why stupid Jasmine Crockett, I'm a defense attorney. Well, you should also know that because you're representing the people, you should just be doing your fucking job and going on about your life, which also begs the question, how could they get a private plane to Washington, D.C.? Doesn't that normally cost a fair amount in order to charter a plane from the middle of the country all the way up to Washington, D.C.? A little weird, I guess, but who knows? I don't know her background, nor do I really care. But on Monday evening, Abbott said in the House Speaker's office wields the power to arrest lawmakers who broke quorum to get the job done. Arrest, detain, forced to be there. Tomato, tomato. There is something the governor can do. First of all, I'll tell you what the House of Representatives can do. What the Speaker can do is issue a call to have these members arrested, Abbott told KVUE-TV. In addition to that, however, I can and I will continue to call a special session after special session after special session all the way up until the election next year. Yes, because at the end of this session for the legislature, okay, all the bills that they vote for, it's going to take one more cycle in order for them to be put into place, right? And the next time that they meet, that's when all the bills that they voted on get put into place, okay? So they pass this now, and then when they meet again, I'm pretty sure it's in the fall or it's in the midst of the election cycle. The election integrity bill, if they don't vote on it now, all the special sessions that are going to get called and all the special elections that are there aren't going to fall under the purview of specifically that election integrity law and the whole host of other bills that are there. But if the governor calls a special session, it's still a part of that previous session, and then everything would just, follow along as it should. So you can see why that's important here. They don't want to have to miss out on anything because it doesn't immediately take effect. And if Democrats are going to act like children and just continue to kick this can down the road for as long as possible, all they're doing is just delaying the inevitable. But at the same time, they're right on the cusp of turning Texas blue. Apparently, I've been told by the likes of Ben Shapiro, who's always right about everything. Anyways, so it turns out Texas House Republicans vote to track down absent Democrats, potentially arrest them. Yep. You don't want to show up? Fuck them. I don't quite know if this would be a bill of attainder, which 30,000-foot view, this was very prevalent during the impeachment proceedings in January. Yeah, that was in January, where the legislature passes a law in order to specifically prosecute somebody. Kind of seems what that's all about, but then at the same time, is this just the Speaker of the House just doing what the Speaker of the House is allowed to do? Let's take a look. Texas House Republicans on Tuesday voted to track down and possibly arrest absent Democrat lawmakers who fled the state to avoid voting on an election bill. House Speaker Dade Phelan, dude, you need to change your fucking surname. In a statement from the Texas Capitol floor, said that members at the Sergeant at Arms and the officers appointed by him are directed to send for all absentees whose attendance is not excused for the purpose of securing and maintaining their attendance under warrant of arrest if necessary. Yeah, that don't necessarily seem like they're passing anything new in order to prosecute anybody, so any members who wishes to leave the hall must have a written permission of the Speaker of the House. Your hall passes, bitch. But State Representative Jim Murphy, a Houston Republican who chairs the House GOP caucus, said Texas Republicans cannot force the Democrats to return to the state. Yeah, it's outside of their jurisdiction. That sucks. We want them to come back. That's our message. Murphy told the Texas Tribune the dramatic change of events drew comments from White House officials and top congressional Democrats. Oh boy, I'd imagine this is going to be fucking enlightening. Biden applauds the cabbage. The courage, and adds to the urgency for the passage of the For the People and John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, along with all of the government efforts we have launched and movement he's calling for today to overcome this moment with voter turnout and voter education. Spokeswoman Jean-Pierre said on Air Force One, according to reports. Okay, so nobody was even there to hear it, but apparently this bitch said it. We've extensively gone over the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement sham. They are as such, and John Lewis just to do a little bit more dancing on his grave, is a fucking racist piece of shit who single-handedly killed the Tea Party. You don't believe me? Did a whole video on it about a month ago at this point. He's a bag of shit, and nobody should forget that. Yeah, he was there for civil rights, but so was Bernie Sanders, and he actually got arrested. So fuck him, but at least he got to have a nice Koof-era funeral that everybody could attend back when we weren't even allowed to mourn the passing of our own grandparents. But, yeah, no, everybody's extended family got to go down and pay one last respect from the civil rights icon. Sure. Both Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will meet with lawmakers this week, including, according to Jean-Pierre, give the rest of this bitch's name. I don't believe that that's just her name. They traveled to Washington, D.C. via charter flight in order to not provide Republicans with a quorum to vote on the measure. Abbott, a Republican, promised on Monday night that the Democrats would be arrested and detained. I love that enthusiasm. I just can't fucking believe, dude. I cannot believe that the White House is putting up with this, okay? Take the partisanship out of this, okay? This is the act of desperate individuals. This is something that you'd expect. This is the type of story you'd expect by people trying to enter Texas from the south, not trying to leave it from the north. But some other corrupt shit that's also happening, and some more little cleanup on the day. Over 5,000 signed pledge to continue teaching critical race theory, even if outlawed. Yeah, but I thought in K-12 schools, critical race theory was never taught. Huh, fucking weird, right? Did an entire video on that as well. But anyways, over 5,000 people have signed a petition. You can see it there at the Zin Education Project that states they vow to continue to teach controversial critical race theory concepts to their students. Yeah, because nobody can really define exactly what critical race theory is. You can't even quantify what it is, how you can see it in action. It's mostly just an amalgamation of all of these nebulous terms like systemic racism, legacy of slavery, whiteness. It's just an entire collection of just really nebulous terms that you can just kind of shift into whatever you want it to in order to just demonize whatever group you want. It's taken many forms over the years: intersectionality, third wave feminism, neo-Marxism. Take your pick. Take your pick. We've been over all of them, and much more learned individuals have as well. I'm just saying I've seen it for a long time. And then for people to have the audacity to come out and say, oh, it's not taught in public schools, so you can just go fuck yourself, especially on this one. The petition requires one to declare their role as a teacher, principal, librarian, but their roles are not displayed under their names and comments. Oh, I really wish that Katie Price Act, the one that we just talked about in the previous video as well, would apply specifically to this little petition. If you want to corrupt the youth out there, which she is so totally against, then you should go ahead and remove their anonymity on this one. Many of the signees appear to be teachers, but one identified as a former student, teacher, and activist. That's what most of them are at this point. And another said they used to be a public school teacher. So what are you going to do? Stand on a fucking street corner on top of a soapbox and start yelling at white people? Cool, bro. I think you should probably take that gimmick on the road. Yeah, you should start apologizing and proselytizing the masses. You could probably start north of 135th Street in New York City. I think that your message would probably go over pretty well up there. The Zin Education Project produces history lessons based on books by Marxist writer Howard Zinn, including A People's History of the United States. No thanks, I just like the history of the United States. That's cool. I don't care what some fucking commie hack has to say about this. The materials are offered free to K-12 teachers across the country. Of course they are. CRT is rooted in the Marxist theory of class struggle, but with a particular focus on race. That is the generalist of general views. While schools have for years been quietly infusing CRT into their curriculums, it wasn't until last year during lockdowns enacted in the response to the CCP virus pandemic. Yes, when parents were actually right there in the classrooms through all of those wonderful and super efficient and definitely not detrimental to the learning process for a whole host of kids, they got to experience, what the fuck are you learning right here? Like, we just got here from Poland a couple of generations ago. Why the fuck are you learning about your role in slavery? You had nothing to do with that. And some of our extended family was equally subjugated in the 1940s in Poland by whiter people than us. Yeah, that shit started to bubble out there, and that's why you're starting to see all of these normies get activated. You love to see it because the encroachment's been happening over time very, very slowly. But then, I don't know, man. Perhaps people think that this entire cabal of authoritarian leftists are just well organized and well structured, but really every once in a while you get a couple of these fucking 85 IQ retards just kind of peel off and crank up the temperature a little bit too high, or just outright say their intentions. I think they overstepped their bounds on this one, and they're going to have to start walking it back, just like what happened with political correctness in, what was that, the mid-90s, when everybody was starting to have a conniption fit over harsh language and needing the ESRB in video games because Mortal Kombat, because you know how easy it is to just reach through somebody's neck and rip out their spine, or playing Wasp records too loud needed a parental advisory sticker, and all of those heavy metal bands of the 80s needed to be abolished, and that's why we're stuck in this cultural malaise that we have for the past 30 years. But yeah, just a little bit of cleanup on this one. Texas is gonna be going old school, man. Sending out the Rangers to wrangle up these fucking criminals. Perhaps they should also go just a little bit farther, and then anybody associated with the Howard Zinn project, go pay them a visit as well. But with the All-Star Game and Major League Baseball happening today, we're going to actually take a little glimpse into what's happening lately with professional sports. A bunch of dumb takes. So we got to try to make something of that, I suppose. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.